Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining for another presentation on identification of one of the difficult species, the identification of larks. And I am Balaji from Coimbatore Nature Society. I am also part of Salim Ali Naturalist Forum, and I've done a course in ornithology from Bombay Natural History Society. And I'm also one of the eBird reviewers for the Coimbatore area. So we'll get started with the presentation. Excuse me. Yeah. So for the agenda, as with the last presentation, we'll look at what are the larks found in our region, how to go about identification of the larks. We'll have a quiz, which will be slightly more extensive than the quiz we had last time, and we'll summarize with the identification pointers, and then we'll conclude. Okay, so this presentation, as I told you earlier, this only covers the larks found in southern India, that is Gujarat downwards. It doesn't cover all the lark species in India. This is only for keeping the presentation very simple, and it's meant for the beginners to intermediate bird watchers, and it uses a very highly simplified process, and all the pictures used in this presentation are my own, except for one picture in this presentation, which the picture credits I'll be sharing below the image. Now, actually, when before we get into the presentation, I want to make a confession that when I started, when I was doing the presentation on pipits, it was quite simpler when compared to the presentation on larks, because larks going through the field guides, arriving at a concise set of pointers for identifying the larks was very difficult, to be very frank. And some of the pointers what the field guides mentioned wasn't really matching with the individuals I've seen in the field and some of the photographs that I had. So I literally struggled with coming out with the pointers, but then I think I have come up with a certain pointers. It's not exhaustive, but I think it's something to begin with. So if you look at the larks found in our region, we have about 9 species of larks: ashy-crowned sparrowlark, Jerdon's bushlark, Indian bushlark, singing bushlark, Malabar lark, tawnies or the Sykes' lark, oriental skylark, rufous-tailed lark, and the Sykes' short-toed lark. Now, of which these species, I think if you look at the relative rarity of these species, Jerdon's bushlark is the most abundant in our region, followed by the ashy-crowned sparrowlark and the oriental skylark. And the other species are relatively quite uncommon in our areas. And I think probably the singing bushlark, we only have like a couple of photographic records from our area. So that is probably the rarest. And the Indian bushlark, the status is still doubtful in Tamil Nadu. In fact, in eBird, the reviewers group, we are discussing several pointers. Like we have seen that like all the birds that have been submitted under the Indian bushlark, particularly in Tamil Nadu, have been Jerdon's bushlarks. So whether Indian bushlark is seen in Tamil Nadu is something of a doubt even now. So, but anyway, like for the sake of completion, I have included the Indian bushlark also for the discussion, and we'll be going through that. So, and we saw in pipits, like there are a lot of migrants. There are only 2 or 3 residents, but in the larks, it's on the quite the opposite, because most of the larks are residents. Ashy-crowned, Jerdon's Indian, singing, Malabar, Sykes, tawny lark, oriental skylark, blue-fur skylark, all these larks are resident. And the only migratory species of larks that we see is the Sykes short-toed lark, which only we see in September to April in some of our wetlands. But that apart, all the larks we see are resident. We can see them all through the year. And again, with pipits, we saw that the altitude in which we see the pipits is of important. But with respect to larks, the oriental skylark and the Malabar lark you can see at a fairly high altitude, but you can see them on the plains as well. So altitude of the sighting is not really a helpful pointer here in larks. And larks, a lot of these larks are also expert mimics, and in fact, the singing bush lark is capable of reproducing the songs of up to 33 species of birds. And some of the species it mimics, it's the other larks. So the call is also not a very helpful pointer in identifying the larks. So we'll have to arrive at different parameters to identify the larks. Okay, so now as a very simple criteria for separating the larks is whether the lark has a crest or not. So the ashy-crowned Jordan's bushlark, Indian bushlark, singing bushlark, rufous-tailed lark, and the Sykes short-toed lark, these are crestless larks which we see in southern India. And the Malabar lark, the tawny lark, or the Sykes lark, or the oriental skylark, these are the larks that we see with the crest. We'll use this criteria to broadly separate the larks and go about zeroing in on how to ID them between these broad groups, with and without crest. So if you look at the size, the ashy-crowned sparrowlark is among the larks that we see here in southern India. The ashy-crowned sparrowlark is the smallest, and the size is about 12 centimeters. The Jordan's Indian, singing bushlark, the tawny, Sykes, short-toed lark, all these larks are about 14 centimeters. The oriental skylark, the rufous-tailed lark, and the Malabar lark are the larger among the larks with about 16 centimeters. So the difference is not very great among the larks. So these are like really fairly small birds, and the problem with the larks is that they are largely very cryptically colored birds, largely brown. So most people tend to ignore these larks. So, but the identifying these larks is not as much as a problem as we will see right now. I will simplify it as much as possible. Okay, the first lark that we'll see is the ashy-crowned sparrowlark. The ashy-crowned sparrowlark, the name, as you can see, it resembles a sparrow, and among the larks, it's the only sexually dimorphic species. The male and the female look completely different. And all the other 9 species of larks that we see here in southern India, the male and the female look alike. So there's not much of a difference between the male and the female of the species, and the larks, except for the ashy-crowned sparrowlark. And the ashy-crowned sparrowlark does not need an ID pointer. You can see that, the black in the chest extends all the way to the belly, up until the vent it extends. So this is and it has like a black eye mask-like appearance in its face. So it's a very unmistakable bird, the male. The female, on the other hand, it's much plainer, and one of the a lot of the beginners, they sort of confuse this bird with the house sparrow female house sparrow, and this bird, they look similar, but anyway, we'll see how to distinguish the both. Now, on your left, you have the ashy crown sparrowlark female. On the right is the house sparrow female. As you can see, the color of the bill is very different from the both the birds. In fact, the ashy crowned sparrowlark, the bill color is almost like, ivory colored or a silver colored bill, whereas in the house sparrow, it's like a pinkish, dark pink or a blackish kind of a color. So this is like a very clear identity pointer. Of course, like the ashy crowned sparrowlark is a very small bird, much smaller than the house sparrow itself. The size of the bird is another important identity pointer. In fact, the female house sparrow shows a very clear supercilium, whereas in the ashy crowned sparrowlark, the supercilium is not very visible. So the color of the underparts is very different. Here it's like buffish white. Here it's like dark brown. So the color of the underparts, the bill color, the size, and the supercilium, all this help to distinguish between the house sparrow female. And another unmistakable lark is a rufous-tailed lark. Rufous-tailed lark, in fact, there's a small story that I want to share with you, which I'll share it towards the end of this presentation. It has like wood-colored upper parts, rufous underparts and tail, and a very stout bill. So the coloration of the bird is very unique, and it's fairly large size, and it's quite unmistakable. You can't mistake it for any other bird because it's a fairly dark bird. So it looks very different in the field as well. So you can, we don't need to get into the ID pointers for the rufous-tailed lark. And I'm shared another image so you can see the front of the rufous-tailed lark also. Here you can see the extensive chest markings on its rufous underparts. So the markings extend all the way to the belly. So this is about the rufous-tailed lark. So it's an unmistakable bird, so we don't need much help here. And another a recent discovery to our area is the Sykes short-toed lark. In fact, the Sykes short-toed lark was earlier considered a subspecies of the greater short-toed lark. Only recently, within the last couple of years, it has been split into a separate species by itself. So if you look at the ID pointers, it's also another unmistakable bird. It's fairly pale overall. Most of the larks, if you see, it has like a very upper parts, at least it has like a very rufous coloration. It has like a whitish supercilium. Very clearly you can see the supercilium in the field. It has a dark eye stripe. Just below the supercilium, you can see it, the eye stripe being very dark. The breast color, if it's visible, you can see some fulvous tinge to the breast. So these are the ID pointers for Sykes short-toed lark. You can't mistake it for any other lark. It's a very unique looking bird and quite rare in our areas. Okay, so now we come to the problematic group, the bush larks. So bush larks are larks which do not have a crest. So there are three bush larks which we have in our area. The Jordan's bush lark, which is by far the most common. The Indian bush lark, for which the status in Tamil Nadu is not very clear, but it's clearly seen in Karnataka and other parts of the South India. So we have included it for the sake of completeness. And we have the singing bush lark. And the singing bush lark is another bird which I happen to have the rare privilege of recording the first species in the state, singing bush lark. It was considered to be restricted to central India, but now we have records from here also. Okay, so when we're looking at bush larks, so how do you know it is a bush lark when you see it in the field? On the right, I have like a picture illustration taken from the Book of Indian Birds by Dr. Salim Ali. So this is a typical bush lark display. So during the time of breeding, what they do is the bush larks, they climb to a great height, they sort of flutter their wings and then they die down. So it's a very typical display flight, which is you can see in a lot of bush larks. So the points that we need to note when we look at bush lark is that the beak length, the tail length, if it is visible, the hind toe nail is very helpful, and the length of the hind toe nail is very helpful in identifying or eliminating a few species. The ear coverts or the cheeks, what is the coloration of the cheeks, and what are the outer tail feathers, how do they look like? So these 5 points we need to take a close look at in order to zero in on the species. So, I'm sure like all the people on the call would have seen a Jordan's bush lark. The Jordan's bush lark, and the remarkable fact about it is that the beak is like fairly long when compared to the other bush larks, and it has like if you look at the image on the right, you can appreciate the tail better. The tail is fairly short when compared to in proportion to the rest of the body. And the hind toe nail is like a very important identification pointer. The hind toe nail is like quite long when compared to the other bush larks. So this is like another important identification pointer. So I'll show you. Yeah, so moving on to Indian bush lark. So Indian bush lark, when compared to the Jordan's bush lark, you can see that the beak is fairly small. The length of the beak is like fairly small. The tail is longer in proportion to the body when compared to the Jordan's bush lark. And the hind toe nail, if you can see it here, it's actually quite short. When you see the image, in the previous image, you can see how long the hind toe nail is. And here it's quite short. So, and the other important identification pointer for Jordan's, the Indian bush lark, is that the supercilium connects with the earlobe almost like in a seamless fashion, and both are like clearly white, whitish cheeks it has. So this is a very important identification pointer for the Indian bush lark. Okay, so singing bush lark, as I said, it is very, very rare to our region. There are only a couple of records for Tamil Nadu. And I happen to have the good fortune of sighting this bird at Kalangal on the outskirts of Coimbatore. So you can see that this bird, the beak is fairly short. The tail is long when compared to in proportion to the body. The throat of this bird is like whitish, and it's just like almost like a very bright white. So you can see the whitish throat on the image on the right. This is a picture taken by Amol Marathe in Tal Chapar, Rajasthan. You can see how wide the throat is. And the other important identification pointer for a singing bush lark is that the outer tail feathers are white, whereas in the Jordan's and the Indian bush lark, the outer tail feathers are like a pale rufous. So if it is white, the only bush lark possible is a singing bush lark. And the throat is another important identification pointer. Of course, when I saw the bird, my image is on the left. When I saw this bird on the field, it was not really showing the throat, but then we had to confirm the identity with the other parameters like the white outer tail feathers, oval-shaped streakings on the back, the rufous ear coverts, and the short bill. So as a recap, for Jordan's bush lark, the important point is that the beak is long and the hind toenail is long. So these are the only two things that you need to keep in mind for Jordan's bush lark: beak and the hind toenail. The Indian bush lark, the beak is short, the ear coverts are white, and the throat is also it's buffish. It's not, and the tail is long. The singing bush lark, the important ID pointer is the whitish throat and whitish outer tail feathers. And these are the very important differentiating pointers between Jordan's Indian and singing bush lark. We'll come back to this slide a little later. So, so now we have seen that there are three larks with crests in our region, namely the Oriental skylark, the Malabar lark, and the shikes or the tawny lark. So we'll see, go through one by one and see how to distinguish the larks with the crests. So the main point to note for the larks with crest is that the crest size, shape, and length we have to note down, and the chest markings we'll have to note down, and the color of the underparts also we need to note down. So three things we have to keep in mind: the crest, the chest markings, how far they extend, and the color of the underparts. Yeah. So the first we'll see the Malabar lark. Malabar lark, if you see, the crest is quite prominent. It has like a fairly upright and longer crest. It has like the breast, the streakings on the breast is like extends up to the chest. It doesn't extend into the belly. But if you look at the tawny lark, the extent of the streakings is restricted throat alone. Doesn't extend even up to the chest. So the underparts are buffish white, or like we can say like whitish underparts are there. So this is the main. Crest is upright, chest is like heavily spotted, and the underparts are whitish. So these are the three main pointers that we need to keep in mind. So this is like an individual which I photographed in Kalangal again. So in this Malabar lark, you can see the crest is not upright. It can be kept folded, but even when it is kept folded, you can see some feathers extending from the crown. So, I mean, the larks being difficult by themselves, they pose more difficulty by folding their crests also. So this is something that we need to keep in mind. Okay. So the tawny lark, as the name suggests, like it has like, you can see the individual on the left, it has like a very prominent tawny color. And it has like this, the crest is small, but it's not very small in relation to the Malabar lark. And it has like a slightly longer crest. I'll show you later in this presentation what I mean by a longer crest. And the underparts are like pale rufous. The rufous, I mean, it won't be white or buffish white like what you see in the Malabar lark. It's pale rufous. So this is the tawny or shikes lark. And even in the tawny lark, you can see that it can keep its crest folded sometimes. And so you will have to look at the other identification pointers to confirm whether it's a tawny lark or some other species. And you can see that the underparts are rufous, and the chest markings are only in the throat. It doesn't even extend to the chest region. It only is restricted to the throat. Sometimes you won't find any chest markings at all. It's a fairly plain chest you will see in the field. Yeah. So the Oriental skylark, this is a bird which we had seen in the previous presentation also. Oriental skylark, the most important identification pointer is that the beak is almost, it's very slim, and the slimmest of the larks. So many times it can be mistaken for a pipit also. The upper parts are very dark. The underparts are uniform buffish color, and the markings extend up to the chest. Beak is slim. The crest is looks like it's quite messy, and it's small, and it's sometimes folded, and sometimes the crest won't be visible in the field at all. So you can see I have shared a couple of more images of the Oriental skylark. One was taken in Walayar Reservoir, the outskirts of Coimbatore, and the image on the right was taken in Point Calumet in near Nagapattinam. So you can see the crest and the beak. The beak is quite slim, and the crest is like prominent but quite messy. Doesn't look very neat. So as a recap, you can see that the Malabar lark has like extensive chest markings. The underparts are buffish white. For the tawny lark, the crest is like small but longer crest. Chest markings are very less, and the underparts are rufous. And Oriental skylark, the beak is very slim and has a messy, sometimes folded crest. Of course, all the crested larks, it can be folded also. So it always like adds to our confusion. Okay, so we have come to almost the end of the identification pointers. I want to share this flowchart with you, and then we'll go on to the quiz, identification quiz for the next few slides. I think we are running out of time in this call. I'll just complete with this flowchart. And if we run out of time in this presentation, I request you to join back with the same credentials again, and we'll see the, we'll join with the identification quiz, and we can learn the pointers and appreciate the pointers better. Okay, so first is like, does the lark have a crest? And if the answer is no, then the other question, next question that we need to ask is the beak long? If the answer is yes, it has to be a Jerdon's bush lark. The lark without a crest, and of course, like I'm only dealing with the bush larks here because the other larks, you don't need identification pointers, they're quite unmistakable. The rufous-tailed lark, the Sykes short-toed lark, and the ashy-crowned sparrow lark, you don't need the identification pointers. You see them in the field, you will be able to get it. So if the beak is long, it should be a Jerdon's bush lark. If the beak is not long, then there are two possible larks, the Indian bush lark and the singing bush lark. Are the ear coverts whitish? If the answer is yes, it's an Indian bush lark. The answer is no, then it has to be a singing bush lark. So very simple identification pointer. Does it have a crest? Is the beak long? Are the ear coverts white? These are the three questions you need to ask yourself, and then you can arrive at the conclusion. So going to the crested larks, does the lark have a crest? Yes. Is the beak slim? Yes. Then it should be like an Oriental skylark. And if the answer is no, then there are two possible larks, the Malabar lark and the Sykes or the tawny lark. So then you have to ask another question. Are the underparts rufous? If the answer is yes, then it has to be a Sykes lark. The answer is no, then it has to be a Malabar lark. Now, the purists will be, the identification, the experts, they'll be furious with the slide. They'll probably say, no, we have to consider all these other pointers and things like that. I do agree, but then we are trying to arrive at a very simple elimination process, and this presentation is targeted towards beginning to intermediate birders. So we don't want to complicate it any further. We want to arrive at a very simple list, and we'll be able to identify these larks fairly accurately. And then for the special species, for the other species, we do have other pointers. So next is the identification quiz. We have less than a minute left on the call right now. Let's get with the identification quiz. Okay. Identify the lark in the picture. The location of the photograph was in Kalangal, Coimbatore district, and the date of the picture was 25/7/2016.
Is it the Oriental Skylark?
Is it a tawny?
Is it a tawny?
I can see a tawny rufous breast.
First of all, is it?
I thought it's more like a beige underpart.
Yeah. Any other opinions?
Oriental. The tail is not in proportion with the body. Maybe.
Okay. Actually, this lark is like a tawny lark, as one of you rightly pointed out. Yes. As I said, like, you know, when I was discussing the tawny lark, the important identification pointer for a tawny lark is that the crest is slightly longer and extends behind the head. Malabar lark also, when it's folded, it extends behind the head. But then the Malabar lark does not have this rufous underparts. So it has like this rufous underparts. The streakings on the breast extend only to the throat. It doesn't extend below. So all these pointers point to tawny lark. So this is an important photograph for our region because there's a very interesting story behind it. So actually, I think it was Shiva Shankar, a bird watcher by name Shiva Shankar, who sighted the first tawny lark in Coimbatore district. I think it was the first sighting for the Tamil Nadu also. And then for some strange reason, I was under the impression that the lark was sighted in Kalangal. And for, I think, I visited the Kalangal place like at least like for 10 consecutive days in hope of seeing that lark. And the last day I sighted that tawny lark, even though the first sighting was sighted in a place called Daliur, which is like a good 100 kilometers away from Kalangal. You know, I think it has to be serendipity. That I think this was the second sighting for Coimbatore, and of course, like the second sighting for the state as well. So it was a tawny lark. Okay. Okay. Second picture for identification. The location of the photograph is in Vijayanaranam tank, which is like. Which is near Kundangulam in Tirunelveli, and the date of photograph is 11th November 2018.
This is the last
Jordan's Bushlark.
It's okay. Any other opinion?
Jordan's bushlark doesn't have such a prominent
Bushlark.
supercilium.
Okay.
It's got those ear coverts, right? The white thing around the cheek.
No, but that's not the ear. It's got no crest. I'm just using Sir's flowchart. The beak is long,
Okay.
and the ear coverts are not white.
Okay.
Is it a Malabar lark with the crest flattened on its head?
I mentioned that Malabar lark, even when the crest is folded, you can still see the crest. Yeah, you can see the feathers, crest feathers behind its neck. That's not visible here. But let me give you a clue. It is a crested lark. So if you can go to that flow chart and see like what other crested larks are there, maybe you'll be able to.
This one's beak is
Oriental.
actually slim. Oriental skylark.
Oriental
Yeah.
skylark.
Oriental.
Chess mark is prominent.
It is a Oriental skylark. Yeah, so it's like a Oriental skylark, which is in which the crust is folded. So you know the crust. We have to stick around the bird for a little bit, because when you see a lark and you know that it is like a lark and not a pipit, I think if you wait a few seconds around the bird, when it becomes alert, I think the crust becomes upright. Or when it is, I don't know when exactly the crust becomes upright, but in my experience, what I've seen is like if we stick around the bird for a little bit, it shows its crest. It's like an Oriental skylark. You can see the streakings extend to its chest, and the beak is quite slim. Of
Does
course,
the crest serve any purpose in a bird other than being ornamental?
Actually, there is a theory that which says that the crest is probably used for signaling to the other birds, particularly when you know the crested hawk eagle and the crested serpent eagle. Some they have a theory that it might be used for signaling, but I mean the jury is still out. We don't really have like a firm answer to that question.
Okay, and it's not used in flight or
No, it's
in
not.
flight of the bird.
No. And both the male and the female birds, particularly in the crested hawk eagle, it's both the male and the female have the crest, so it's not like attract its mate or anything. We don't really know why the crest is used. That's the honest answer. Okay, we'll move on to the next picture. Okay, this I think it should be fairly simple. The location of the photograph is Kaveri Pakam near Vellore, and it's as a clue I'll give you that it's like probably the only migratory lark that's there.
Sykes short-toed lark.
Yeah, it's a Sykes.
Sykes short-toed.
Yeah, it's Sykes short-toed lark, which is the only migratory species. And you can see the date of the picture. It's 9 January 2020. So it's well within the winter season, and then it has like a very pale overall coloration, and it has like this white supercilium and a black eye stripe, and the fulvous chest is not very visible in this picture, but then maybe at some other angle you can see that fulvous breast coloration also. So,
Sir, but here we can't see the eye stripe. We can only see the supercilium, no?
see, actually, I think the image is taken in a very side-lit image, but the eye stripe is not very prominent. But in some individuals, you can see very clear black eye stripe. The supercilium is like it's very distinct.
Dominant.
Here, but yeah. And the pale overall coloration of this bird and the shape of the beak points to the fact that it is a lark. So we'll have to go with the other pointers also. As I said, like,
Got it.
yeah. As I said, like, not always you'll see all the identification pointers in the field. You'll have to go with the majority of them. Okay. So another lark for identification. The location of the photograph is Kalangal, Coimbatore district. The date of the picture is 10/7/2018.
Is this a Jordan's bush lark?
Jordan's bush lark?
It is a Jordan's bush lark.
The hind toe also quite.
Congratulations. The hind toe is like very prominently seen. So I think we don't need to look at anything else. Of course, the beak is also like quite long. And it's a crestless lark species. So congratulations. Yeah. So another unmistakable lark. The location of the photograph is in my village. This is Puliyampatti. It's in Tirupur district.
She crown sparrow.
The only.
Rufous tail lark.
Rufous tail lark.
This is a
Yeah.
rufous tail lark.
Yeah, it's a rufous tail
Oni.
lark. Yeah, the rufous tail lark. You can see that it has like very rufous orange underparts. The streakings on the breast is very prominent. The upper part is very dark. The rufous color in the tail is not always visible in the field, but the rufous underparts, chest markings, the other things, you can see it in the field. It's quite
Here, actually, sir, the rufous in the tail is not visible at all. Or is it?
Yeah, just when the wings are ending, I think that area it is actually visible. Yeah.
I see. Got it. Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So identify the lark. The location of the photograph is in Kotagiri. It's about 1,500 meters in elevation. Nilgiris district. Date of photograph is 5/3/2019.
The Malabar lark, right?
Sites.
But can be the one.
Malabar.
Why is it a Sykes lark?
Because the crest is prominent and long.
Okay. And what is the other
very
point
short
of,
tail.
The
Sykes?
underparts are not rufous. The underparts are buff here, and
Yeah.
hence it is a Malabar lark.
You're very right, ma'am. Actually, the Sykes lark, the underparts are always rufous. So that, and then for the Sykes lark, the other identity point is the markings on the chest. It is restricted throat. In this individual, you can very clearly see that it extends to the chest also, and very prominent crest. That is common for both Malabar and Sykes, but then you will have to use the color of the underparts and the chest streakings to eliminate the Sykes lark. So that's all. I think we have come to the end of the identification quiz. Congratulations to all who have participated. And I think we'll revisit the identification flowchart just for the sake of thoroughness. The first thing we need to look at is like, does the lark have a crest? If the answer is yes, is the beak slim? If the answer is again yes, then it has to be like a oriental skylark. If the beak is not slim, it looks fairly thick, then you have to ask another question: are the underparts rufous? If the answer is yes, then it should be a tawny lark or a Sykes lark. It's also called a Sykes lark. If the answer is no, then the bird has to be a Malabar lark. And going to bush larks, does the lark have a crest? The answer should be no. Is the beak long? And the answer is yes. Then it has to be a Gerard's bush lark. Then we have to also verify whether the hind toenail is also long, if it is visible, just for the sake of thoroughness. And if the beak is not long, we have to check, are the ear coverts whitish? If the answer is yes, then it has to be an Indian bush lark. If it is no, then it has to be a singing bush lark. So very simplified identification flowchart. So you can use it. I think most of you must have pictures taken in the field. You can use this identification flowchart to identify the larks. Of course, like the three other larks which are not covered in this flowchart are the ashy-crowned sparrow lark, the rufous-tailed lark, and the Sykes short-toed lark. Yeah, so those are quite unmistakable. I don't think they can be confused with any other species. So that's the reason why they are not included here. So the conclusion is like, as with pipits, the lark identification is not very easy, but then you'll have to go through systematically, take some time, and then eventually it will become part of second nature. When I sat down this presentation, I could, having gone through so many birds in the field and also going through so many pictures, instinctively I knew what the larks were. I could know the species, but then translating them to identification pointers was very difficult for me. But then I had to consult a lot of field guides and then compare the identity pointers stated in the field guides with the pictures I had. Then I had to come out with my own pointers. So I think there's no substitute for being out in the field, and there's no substitute for practice. We have to familiarize yourself with the most common species, which is the Jerdon's Ashi crowned and Oriental skylark. These are fairly common. And then once you are mastered these, the other larks will eventually become child's play. I know this is difficult. I know this is it doesn't sound as, it's not as easy as it sounds, but it will come to you eventually. We just need a lot of time and patience. So important to take multiple photographs if it's possible, or know different aspects in the field itself. So thank you very much. And these are my contact details. I'll be very happy to take your questions offline. And if there are any questions right now, I'll be happy to take them on as well.